Good afternoon, everyone. We are so happy to have you here with us this afternoon for this wonderful program. To our triumphant founders, founder Arizona Cleaver Stemmons, founder Pearl Anna Neal, founder Myrtle Tyler Faithful, founder Viola Goings, founder Fannie Petty Watts, our international centennial president, Mrs. Valerie Hollingsworth Baker, our past international presidents, our 20th South Central Regional Director, Mrs. Kathy R. Tatum, of the unconquerable South Central region of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, all former South Central Regional Directors, our 23rd Alabama State Director, Dr. Sowan Crenshaw, all former awesome Alabama State Directors, all national, regional, and state leadership teams elected and appointed, to all Zeta chapter presidents, officers, and members, to all of our Amici auxiliary friends, other Zeta Amici, to all youth affiliates, our Miquettes, Pearlettes, Arcanettes, to our brothers of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, to other members of the Divine Nine, and especially our sisters with us here today of Delta Sigma Theta, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sigma Gamma Rho. To other partnering community organizations, family, friends, we greet you this afternoon on this fine occasion for Gamma Alpha Alpha Zeta, Chapter Dallas County, Alabama. Welcome to our celebration of Finer Womanhood. It is Finer Womanhood season in Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, and we are so excited to have you here. And it is also Women's History Month. And so we thank you for joining us for this celebration. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Irish Spencer.
Well, again, good afternoon, and I'm going to give you a second welcome and welcome you to our Sister Circle conversation with sorority past regional directors. This is going to be so exciting. Our Gamma Alpha Alpha Zeta Lyceum White Rose Lyceum series is designed to have events such as this so that we can bring us all together as one and discuss and listen and be a part of such history and the knowledge that these women are going to bring to us. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it along, I believe, to our hostess with the mostest. Is that Miss Henley? She is next.
And Dr. Spencer, I'm going to give us just a little information about Miss Henley, so that we will know just a little bit about her. And I will also let all of our guests know that if you would like, feel free, you can either change your name if you'd like to make sure we know what organization that you represent, or feel free to put your name and your chapter and your organization in the chat so that we can be sure to capture who all we have on with us today. Our moderator for today is Reverend Letitia Roberts Henley. She is a member of the Beta Upsilon Zeta chapter in Dothan, Alabama, and she serves as their treasurer. They say Reverend Henley says her voice has always been her gift according to her family and friends. She started singing at the tender age of 3, and guess what? She's also a comedian. So we are more than happy to have her here with us today. Now, in her paying job life, she serves as an HR specialist, and we are so excited to have her here. She is a retail and entertainment service small business owner, a human resource manager for more than 25 years. And she is certainly happy that God sent her to what she calls UCLA, the upper corner of Lower Alabama, which is Dothan, Alabama. So we thank her for being here and accepting our invitation to serve as our moderator. Ms. Henley, we'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? I'm normally loud, so let me know if I get too loud. We're good? Awesome. I see head shaking. Good afternoon, everyone, to all of my sisters of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, to the fine and beautiful ladies that have joined us this afternoon on our white Lyceum. I'm excited, you guys. I want to have some fun. I know that we're going to hear a lot from these ladies who are our guests today. Each one of them are going to give you an opportunity to get to know them a little bit better as they tell you a little bit about themselves. I am going to do just a short introduction because I think that during the time that they are answering questions, they will really give you a better sense of who they are. So of course, I'm not starting in any certain order, but I think I should introduce Dr. Constance Hendricks first. She served, yeah, I see Miss Petty going, yep, absolutely, right? You know what? Before I get into that, I just want you all to know that I will never forget the very first thing that Dr. Constance Hendricks said to me that stuck with me, that will forever be the thing that I carry in everything that I do. It's a poor dog that don't wag its own tail. So I'm going to wag her tail just a little bit for her today. Of course, you know, I don't think anyone ever thinks of any job more important than being a mother. So of course, you all know that she is the mother of Dr. Denisha Hendricks. So I'm going to start there. She is an awesome, awesome, awesome woman who has served in the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated in many capacities. But as you all know, she served as the 18th South Central Regional Director. She also holds a BSN and an MSN from the University of Alabama, a PhD in nursing from Boston College. She is dedicated to all the work that she does in Zeta. And in 2008, she was appointed by the 23rd International Grand Bachelor's. You all get to know her a little bit better as she answers your. And because I had an opportunity to meet this lady a little bit before we started today, Cynthia Boyd. She was really excited when she thought that I had on red glasses on the first photo she ever saw of me. I let her know that they were pink, so I guess Miss Pettaway would really be the happiest about my glasses color. Miss Cynthia Boyd is the oldest child of Frederick Douglass, and Corey S. Boyd. Now, I don't know if you all feel anything when you hear me say that, but I know when I first read that, I don't care how many times you hear the name Frederick Douglass, it should do something to you and excite you. She has already presented herself to me as being an awesome member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated just by her display on her photo today as we sit here in Zoom. She was the former director of the Southern region, the largest region in the sorority. She is also a member of Links Incorporated, where she serves as the president of the chapter. So this explains to you why she's a part of this series today, because she's a natural leader. And last, but certainly not least, Judge Pettaway. Well, what can I say? I always thought that I would go to law school one day. I always thought that I would be a judge. And then I soon learned that you all stay in school for a really, really long time, and that you have libraries that are full of books, books and books and books and books, and you have to have an impeccable memory. Well, I have to be honest with you, my memory's not that good, but I take really good notes. So today I hope I can get some great notes from you so that I too can be someday appointed, or the first woman appointed or elected in my little city of Headland, Alabama, to serve on the bench. But it is such an awesome pleasure for me today to know that you served as the first African American woman of African descent to be elected to the state bench in Alabama. I don't know if anybody else knows that, but 30 years plus of doing a job is commendable in its own right. The first chairwoman of the Wilcox County Children's Policy Council. And she drafted numerous proposals that funded and provided various services for the children. She served as the vice president of the Alabama Juvenile Justice Association. And of course, served as a past state director in her region, regional director for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She has been a member of that illustrious sorority since 1985. I was 12. I was 12. Listen, I don't care what anybody tells you. I am so looking forward to this series today. I know that we're going to learn a lot, and I'm going to iterate and reiterate what Dr. Denisha Hendricks said earlier. We're not answering questions about all the stuff that people already know the answers to. We want to hear a little bit about each one of you in your respective positions that you have previously held. At this time, we will ask that each one of the panelists introduce yourself. Dr. Hendricks, of course, we'll start with you. What would you like for us to know today?
Well, good evening, my sisters of the Divine Nine, and we may have some gentlemen on. We invited them to join us as well. I am so excited about today, so I'll try to contain myself and stay focused. Well, I am the baby of these three, so I'm honored to be on this panel with them. We have relationships beyond the Divine Nine with these ladies. And Judge Petaway and I were schoolmates. She was ahead of me, and she was the big girl that I admired from afar, and said she was over there in the dorms at Alabama Lutheran Academy, and I thought it was a big secret as to what happened after they sent us home in the evening. So, you know, I have always wondered about that. And Miss Cynthia over here, you know, we shared things together as, believe it or not, Dr. Denisha Hendricks was the president of the Dell Teens when she was growing up in Auburn, Alabama. And so as a parent of that group, you know, I was involved in that. And so our path started way back then. And we are sister links. So, you know, it just keeps on blossoming. But I am the 18th South Central Regional Director of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. I served 2008 to 2014 under what was our international grant, who was our international grant then, the 23rd, Cheryl P. Underwood, and then Mary Bro Wright, 2 years under Wright. I had the second largest, on my exiting, the second largest region. On my entry and appointment, we were number 5 of 8. And so when I assumed leadership, we were number 5 of 8. My service area was Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. South Central region of Zeta Phi Beta. I'll stop there and turn it over to Cynthia.
Good afternoon, my sisters, one and all. First of all, let me thank you for the opportunity. When I got the phone call from Constance, I fairly leapt out of my seat. It just presented such an opportunity for me. And I would not be able to go back home if I did not thank my chapter president, Dr. Joanna Abrams, for being a part of this audience, and several of my chapter sorors, including my line sister, Charlotte Wilson, who's gonna kill me, but my line sister, Charlotte Wilson, 41 years ago, we became Deltas together. I see Link sisters from my chapter. I see Link sisters from other chapters. I see Deltas, friends of mine from other chapters. Thank you one and all for coming to hear little old shy me speak. Of course, I was the 21st Southern Regional Director of Delta Sigma Theta of the Southern region, the largest of the 7 regions. My area included Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I served the years 2003 to 2007. So I was just coming out when Constance was coming in. I served under 2 presidents. Dr. Gwendolyn Boyd was president when I was elected, and Dr. Louise Rice, I served the other 3 years. Elected under the banner, Continuing the Legacy of Excellence. And I did say let me go back and say, I see my Link sisters, I saw my Delta sisters, but I also see some Carrot sisters. And with that, I'm going to stop.
Judge Pettaway, you have the floor.
Unmute. Unmute yourself.
Okay, okay, now we're good. It's just an honor and pleasure to be here with so many sorors because we all have one thing in common. Before we were Greek, we were Black women. And if we ever stop being Greek, we will always be Black women. So it's just a joy to be among good Black women. It was my honor to serve as regional director for Alpha Kappa Alpha from 1998 until 2002. The last Southeastern Regional Director of the 20th century and the first one of the 21st century. Our international president was Dr. Norma Solomon White from Jacksonville, Florida. And our theme was moving Southeastern forward. Our region consists of the great states of Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. And when we served as regional director, we had an interesting term because we were trying to make sure we stayed afloat, as in not being sued for various activities, and making sure that all of our sorors were engaged, our undergraduates and our graduates. So it was a challenge. And I'm thankful to my parents who are now deceased, who was my babysitter in chief for my son, Adam. My parents were the late Minda and Joseph Petway, and my wonderful brothers, Joseph Petway Jr., who's a former coach at Keith High School. But it was a wonderful time, and I would not have been able to do it but for my family, because my sister-in-law, Felicia, is a major supporter, and she and my family just undergirded me and made sure I was successful, my child was taken care of. So it's just a joy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you all for giving us a little bit more insight to who you are. I always tell people we can read introductions and I can do my best to introduce you, but there's always those key things that people need to hear from you all. So what I would do is ask that if you have questions that you put them in the chat so that we will be able to get those at the end. And if you would hold your questions until we're at the end so that they don't get mixed in amongst comments, okay? We're going to get started. I am so looking forward to hearing all of this good, juicy information. And I say juicy because you're going to be able to enlighten us today on how to handle the challenges that we will face as we move forward. I'm sure that there is a lot of leaders on this Zoom call today. You're going to be able to help us not only as, like you said, members of the Divine Nine and members of various other auxiliaries to be leaders, but you're going to be able to help us as Black women. And as Judge Pettaway said, for me, that's the first thing that I am before I'm anything else, that I walk around every day. And when people look at me, that's what I know. And then every now and then I look back at them and I say, you sure I'm Black? Or maybe I'm brown. I mean, because that's why they're staring at you, right? Okay. All right. So we're going to continue to go in the order that we're in. Now, listen, because you all have served in the capacity that you have, I'm sure that each one of you may trigger a thought in the other. Please don't hesitate after they complete their statement to share if you have any additional comments. Dr. Constance Hendricks, share with us your greatest challenge and your proudest moment.
My greatest challenge, and there were many, so I really had to think about this. My greatest challenge was to take the helm of the 5th of 8 regions and energize, activate, ignite the power that I knew we had and say, sisters, come on now, we can do this. We are Southern women. There's something to us. Let's get it going. And we went in those 6 years from being number 5, quiet Southern, to number 2. And we're on the heels of number 1, less than 1,000. I mean, we were nipping at 1, and they were a little scared because we were on their heels. But the sisterhood embraced the thought that we had power. We just needed to exercise it. We need to synergize and focus. We needed to see the vision. And we all learn in church, if you write the vision, you know, put it in the right hands, the hands of the Lord, he will guide and direct. And so that was, I guess, my greatest challenge, but my greatest joy. But when you know, I don't know where to tell you, is that when you're sitting in your paying job, that was a state job, and I got a call from the FBI and asked me, are you the regional director for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority? Now, he called me on my work while I'm sitting at my desk in a state job. So I already knew that he knew the answer. So I couldn't say no. But I was glad that I had recently visited the bathroom before I answered the phone. But I was shocked. And, you know, so I'm going to stop there.
I really want to know the last part of that story, but I'm going to hold off because that's got to get better and better. Cynthia Boyd, she laughing already.
Because I understand where she's coming from. my every morning, you all, when I woke up, my prayer to the Lord was, Lord, please don't let anybody get hurt, killed, or maimed while I am the Southern Regional Director. Every morning before my feet hit the floor, that was my prayer. And I can say that the Lord answered my prayer. I had my challenges, but no one was ever killed, hurt, or maimed. Now, some other things, but not maimed during my term of office. And my greatest challenge I had, you told us we could think about, say things that came to our mind as someone else was speaking. The Southern region, while it was the largest of the 7, was the sleeping giant. We had a lot of power, but we did not realize how much power we actually had. And I had to tell them, sorry, there are over 200 of us. We don't need to go to anybody and ask for anything. They need to come to us and ask for our support. So part of my challenge was to wake that sleeping giant up and to let them know, help them to see how we could take our rightful place. And once we took it, we ain't giving it back. We are not giving it back. But my greatest challenge in the Southern region, as I said, at the time I took office, there were over 200 active chapters in the region. And so the day-to-day operation was really, and I was still working at the time as well, the day-to-day operation was really a big part of it. In any given year, of those 200 chapters, about a third of them would participate in the membership intake process. So you're talking about 65 to 70 chapters. Of those 65 to 70 chapters, I had what I call high profile HBCU chapters, and we all had them. One in every state, at least one in every state. And so that meant that there were people clamoring to be a part of that chapter. They would call all times of the day. I remember one time my mother was in the hospital, and this child called me at 2 o'clock in the morning and asked me when I was going to let that chapter come back to activity. I said, baby, unless somebody is dead or dying, we're not going to be talking long. And she kept asking questions, and my mother got up to go to the bathroom. I said, now you can keep talking if you want to, but you're going to be talking to dead airspace because I'm getting ready to hang up this line. I'll call you back when the sun rises tomorrow, but we will not talk anymore tonight. But anyway, I digress. But the biggest challenge was to bring those over 200 chapters into the vision of seeing that you are big and that we need to act like, not like the little mousy chapters that they think we are, but we need to act like Southern women who know how to do what we know how to do. And as I said, once we took that position, we are not giving it back. And I'm going to stop there.
Awesome. There she is. She
Yeah.
She on that mute button, y'all. She ready now. She done got her mute timing down and everything. Just been waiting.
Oh, we have so many similar stories because I think we all know those HBCU chapters in our region that will always call us to kneel, pray, and call upon the name of the Lord. And we're thankful that nothing happened at those chapters because they're always just that close to the edge. But we in the Southeastern region, we were really, really excited because we were able to move our region forward by chartering 5 chapters, 4 grad and 1 undergrad. And what really made us, I think, reign supreme in service to all mankind in the sorority was our emphasis with our undergraduates. We were able to use money left over from our regional conferences to send undergraduates to our leadership seminar in Boulé. And we also financially supported 2 undergraduates who went to Boulé and won positions on our directorate as undergraduate members at large. So we were really, really thankful for that. We also tried to highlight our undergraduates because they were becoming who they would be. So we hosted the first Queens and Campus Leaders Parade, where if you were a college queen, you had the opportunity to wear your gorgeous crown and your mantle and just parade around the audience so we could see you. And if you were a president of a class, president of a college, undergraduate student government, you could also do it then, because we were trying to acknowledge not just those people who are what they call beautiful outside, but those who are beautiful inside and outside and who have those qualities that we look for in our young ladies that call those outstanding leaders. So we had a really, really interesting time. I guess our greatest challenge was making sure no one was injured on our watch. I remember a call about 2 o'clock in the morning from a chapter in Alabama, and the graduate advisor said, "Sergeant Celeste, they're at it again." I was going, "No, not again." And she told me exactly what happened. That was the first chapter I had to suspend. And the ironic part was when we charted our chapter in Wilcox County, one of the young ladies who came to our meeting was one of the young ladies who was in the first chapter we had to suspend. She was going, "Do you remember me?" I said, "I can't forget you. You're on my mind all the time." So it was an interesting time, but it was a very productive time. And we left the region financially sound. We left the region with pride because we won several awards. We had a contest going where we were trying to raise $10,000 to fund a school in Africa. In our region, and one of the sorors from Natchez, Mississippi, Soror Ora Frazier, led our efforts to raise $10,000. And we were the first region in the sorority to raise our $10,000. So even though we were a middle-sized region, we were probably 5th as far as population and chapters were concerned. We led a sorority doing the things we had to do, and we're thankful for that.
You know, Miss Henley, the problem with going first is, they triggered something. And so I just have to tell you that I guess now that I'm listening to you, probably my proudest moment was chartering 30 new chapters in my 6 years. That I chartered 30 Zeta chapters during the 6 years that I was there. And I too, like both of you, said in the beginning, and they'll tell you, I said frequently, now listen, I am a good researcher. I'm a good nurse scientist. I do not want to be on CNN because you act stupid. So I was blessed never to be on TV because of somebody's foolishness. I had foolishness. And to tell you how foolishness really came to me sitting in the beauty shop chair in Auburn, Alabama, I get a call on my phone from a PWI because their Greek advisor now is a Black woman. And she can recognize that the people walking on that campus are not her students. And so she calls me and wants to know the status of that chapter. Now I hadn't been regional director long, so I said, will you give me an opportunity to check with headquarters and let me verify that status, and I'll get back to you. And that probably was one of the first ones that I had to actively be involved in suspending. But So it comes to you, but I am most grateful that at least I didn't make CNN because of somebody
Amen.
else's foolishness. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Well, I
I
will
had
have
a
to
go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead,
I
Miss
had a
Boyd.
thought while she was saying that. I had a chapter. I live in Auburn, a chapter about 20 miles away from me. And at the time, the national president was initiated in that chapter. And I had to go down to that chapter and say, listen, I will not call her and tell her that her chapter has been suspended because of what you all are doing. I said, now, one of you, I know you got your phones out, so I'm going to give you her phone number in case you want to call her and tell her that you are on the brink of being suspended. But I'm not going to do it. And I tell you what, I'm not coming back down here anymore. If I come the next time, I'm going to have to walk. And you know, by the time I get to Tuskegee, I'm going to be angry. So it's going to be on, excuse my English, it's going to be on and crack-a-lacking by the time I get there. So that really was a challenge, to keep that chapter under control so that they would not embarrass our president during her tenure.
Did I
And
just hear you say on and
unfortunately,
crack-a-lacking?
On and crack-a-lacking. Those were my exact words, on and crack-a-lacking.
well, y'all, people still hold leadership stuff against me. And they hold it, unfortunately, because Denisha can't separate herself from her mama. She was born from me. So, they punish her because of the actions of her mama. And I'm so sorry. I'll say that publicly to you all in front of her. But I'm her mama, and I try to be quiet when she was campaigning, so they couldn't blame her for that. But, some people are still holding grudges because of things that they brought on themselves.
Right.
That because I had to uphold the policies and the SOPs, all of that, and be fair. When you fair, then you reap what you sow.
Exactly.
And so when you don't follow the rules, you
Right.
open the gates for the consequences. And
No point in
it
having rules if
matters
you're
not
not gonna
whose
follow.
name it is, it's the action and the consequence.
That's right. And I have a witness that testified almost like an amen. Melrita Johnson, I hope I pronounced that right. She said she witnessed that you would say that all the time, Dr. Hendricks. So we thank you all for enlightening us. Now, Dr. Hendricks, I'm not going to set you up. I'm not going to make you go first every time.
Thank you.
Because I know that that's how that works. Miss Boyd, I have to ask you, do you have any relatives in the Carolinas?
Not that I am aware of, but we all related somehow. We're the only nation of people that cannot trace our roots back very far. I am sure I have some somewhere. So if they have the last name Boyd, I will claim them, surely.
Well, I said it because we used to say that in South Carolina all the time. We're going to get it crack-a-lacking. So I thought maybe you were from South Carolina because that's where I'm originally from. So
okay.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. And Ms. Boyd, we're going to begin with you on question number 2. Talk to us about being a leader of multi-generational women.
But you know what, before I do that, none of us spoke about our proudest moments. We talked about our challenges. So I had some proud moments. So if you will allow me to go back and talk about my proudest moments. Constance, I came in number 2 behind you. I only charted about 15 chapters in my 4 years time. But one of the things that we have to do within Delta is chapters have to become compliant with Grand Chapter, and there's paperwork that has to be submitted. And for whatever reason, the collegiates and some of the smaller chapters had a real hard time getting that information where it needed to be. Back then, we were still paper and pencil. I was retired, so I could travel. I would call the state coordinator. I had 10 state coordinators. I will call and say, I am going to be in such and such a place this week. And you and I are going to start. I remember in Tennessee, I started in Memphis and went from Memphis in West Tennessee all the way to Johnson City in East Tennessee within a 2 or 3 days period. So one of the things that I'm most proud of was that I assisted chapters personally with becoming compliant with Grand Chapter. I also, we had a set of workshops that were prescribed for chapters to do, and everybody who did a workshop had their own way of doing it. And I said to myself, that just does not seem right. Let's do some standardization. So I put a team together and we standardized our workshops so that anywhere in the Southern region you went for a workshop, you got the same. If you went to a sisterhood workshop, you got the same workshop. My number 3 proudest moment was connecting advisors. Our advisors, as all of you know, are some of the least not respected, but they're out there all by themselves. They're not connected to anybody else but that collegiate chapter that they serve. And so I started an advisors roundtable so that every time we had a state meeting, the advisors came together and could talk. Advisors of large chapters, medium sized and small chapters could talk and you know, what went best, what worked best, what needs tweaking. And we actually produced the very first advisory directory, which gave them a way to get in contact with each other should they need them. I got 2 more, then I'm going to stop. As I said, the first year that I was regional director, we had our national convention in 2004 in Las Vegas. And at that time, red hats were all the go. So I said to myself, how nice would it be if all 5,000 Deltas from the Southern region wore red hats? Y'all, they called me everything but a child of God as I asked them to pack those hats. We don't want to be carrying no hats halfway across the country. Suppose we lose our hat. Hey, but they came. And when we went to the ecumenical service that Sunday morning, we were in an arena. When we went to the ecumenical service that Sunday morning and saw those 5,000 hats all over that arena in those white dresses, they were so proud. We got so many compliments. I was so happy to see so many people, because, you know, you never know, you know, it's just like going to a parade. And I tell people, if you go into a parade and you look back and there's nobody behind you, you just on a walk, you're not parading. And so I was so happy to see the parade of 5,000 plus Deltas in their red hat. And then and I'm through with this, my absolutely most proudest moment, I had 10 state coordinators. Each state had 2 coordinators. Of those 10 state coordinators, 3 went on to become regional directors themselves. 1 became a member of the National Executive Board, and 1 was hired to be the Deputy Executive Director of Delta Sigma Theta, and she serves in that position to this day. So my proudest moment is that while those 10 sorors worked with me, now that's not to say that the other 5 didn't excel, but those are the 5 of whom I am most proud. And I'll stop.
Awesome. Thank you.
Fantastic. Our emphasis was and still is building a strong knowledge base. During our regional conferences, we made sure we offered not fewer than 35 workshops. Because our conferences are normally from Thursday through Sunday, although Sunday is basically reserved for our memorial service and a worship service. Because to us, knowledge is the most important thing that we need if we're going to succeed, other than a good attitude and a dependence on doing what the right thing is. And our sorors learned a lot. And they would often say, we've never had this many workshops before. I say, you may not have it afterwards either, but we're going to do it this time because we need to learn our documents. We need to learn parliamentary procedure, and we need to learn how to treat each other. Because for me, the biggest challenge was treating each other sisterly, respectfully, and lovingly. Because we often say, oh, sisterly yours and sisterly this, but when it gets down to it, are we really sisters? Do we really behave as sisters? And people always say, well, you know, you fight with your own sisters. And I don't fight with mine. You know, my sister and I get along real well. So we need to figure out a way where we can get along as sisters and not have to fight. But the thing that really stuck with me is with our undergraduates, when they have a firm foundation, they stayed with the sorority. When they understood that they were essential to our survival, they were loyal because we treated them as though they were important, they were essential, we couldn't have it without them, and they responded likewise. So for those who are leaders or are going to pursue leadership, recognize that all members are important. We had what we called our golden reception for our members who were 50 years or beyond. Now we have a category called diamond, those members who've been members for 75 years. And we have our pearls, 60 years and above. And we cherish each group. Our undergraduates, those newly initiated, the ones who've been there 50 years, 75 years, 60 years, we had receptions for them, gave them gifts to let them know there would be no Alpha Kappa Alpha without you and your service. And it's just amazing to me how people stay in an organization for 50 years. It's like 50 years? Well, I was married 50 years. I said, well, I was only married for 6 months. So that's not a good weather vane for me in longevity. But the commitment that our members have to our organizations should lead us to be so dedicated to them that they know that we cherish them and we're going to do everything we can to make them the best people they can be. And I think that's what we did more than anything else. We cherished our members, we educated them, we utilize their skills because we have so many brilliant people in our sororities. And if someone knew how to do something, we would say, just give me a call, because if you call me, you're going to be put to work. And we would utilize those skills because we have to admit that I don't know everything. It's so much I don't know, it's not even funny. And people, just surround yourself with people who know and people who have bought into the vision that you have to move the organization forward and to move sorors individually forward. And I think that's the best thing we can do for not just in our sororities, but in our churches, in the OES, and all those other organizations we're members of.
Awesome.
Ladies, you know that is so true. As I listen, I inherited, as I said, I came in, and I'm just a firm believer, you don't reinvent the wheel if it's working right, if it's going on the right road. So I pulled from things I had learned from other organizations that would help strengthen the vision and the leadership that I needed to propel South Central region. And I had learned somewhere in one of these organizations a phrase, MMFI, make me feel important. And so it was all about loving on the sisters, because everybody, just like you said, Judge, everybody has something to contribute. And I don't know everything. The beauty of networking and sisterhood is that my sisters know some stuff. And if I can surround and pull in and tap, and anybody that walked up to me and said, Sarah Hendricks, did you know I could do so and so and so? I said, oh, that's wonderful. And I got a place for you. So I expanded the cabinet and put people, you know, they would say, I worked you hard, but I loved you too. And I tried to appreciate what they did. I've put some more structure to things. Cynthia, I too needed to formalize the leadership piece. And because once I became a Zeta, I went into the Southeast region for several years because of my job. I learned some stuff from over there. So when I came back to South Central, ooh, that was some good stuff. So I brought it over here. And part of that was visiting the chapters, putting some structure. I learned from the Southeast that they had geographical area coordinators. That seemed to work for them. So why wouldn't it work for us? And so I instituted that concept of geographical area coordinators within the state to help that state director have a better reach on her state, but empowered and trained those area coordinators so that they all weren't saying different stuff. And then increase the number of workshops. Yes, we had probably triple what we had been having. And Joe, I got some nods too, like all this stuff. I even wanted them to see the importance of the chaplain. You know, that's usually that office that we just, after everybody else has grabbed what they want. Oh, sister so-and-so don't have nothing. You be the chaplain. But chaplaincy is important. And if you find the right person, They don't just read the scripture and say the prayer. They can be functioning all the time. And the Lord showed me the right persons. I see one of them on here, both of them probably on here that supported me, but they were just fantastic. And we can do nothing without the Lord. I hope y'all know that by now. And so that and I learned visiting chapters in states. One of these states, one of my 4 states was doing a Zeta Academy, undergraduate academy, training for the undergrads. I was like, oh, that's good. Why don't we do that for the whole region? And so we instituted and put some parameters. Cynthia, if they don't come to the Zeta Academy, you will not be doing any membership intake. Now, all of your people don't have to come, but you got to have a representation based on some parameters. And I love you. Yes, I love you, but I believe in tough love. Okay? Because there are consequences when you don't follow the rules. So yes, I love on you. And I believe in training, transparency, and that transformative leadership. Empower people to come on behind me.
If you don't empower them, pretty soon you're gonna look up and there's not gonna be anybody to come behind you because you've not paved the way for them.
Exactly. And accept the wisdom of the senior soror.
Yes.
They have much to give.
Yes.
If you would just take time and listen. If you listen to them, they have paved the way. And it wasn't as technologically advanced for them. It was paper and pencil, what you say, Cynthia, and y'all but had to walk. That's why our four sisters, when they created all of this and did our regional part, they were wise enough to put leadership in there because they knew they could get off work if they said, I got to go to a leadership something. And at the schools and wherever they was working, it was leadership. And yeah, we might have bonded and we did our sisterly stuff, but we learned something if you avail yourself and stayed out of the vendors.
Yes.
So true. So true.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, all 3 of you, for sharing that. I know that you could probably go on for days talking about the challenges. And I'm sure you had equally as many proud moments, but you've been able to start to inform us already of the things that we may come up against and how we should handle them. And tough love, as we all know, especially in the Black community, is something that most of us have in our adulthood realized we greatly appreciate. As children, we hated it. But as we got older, we appreciate it now, and we are so thankful for that. So thanks for sharing those thoughts. So let's talk about these multi-generational women, because as you all know, there is a difference from the new sorors that are joining sororities these days and how they do things and what they see as acceptable versus what someone like myself who's in my mid-40s see as acceptable, and what some of our more seasoned sorors that's over 70 and 80 see as acceptable. So talk to us about being a leader of multi-generational women. And Ms. Boyd, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. Multi-generational is something that we can't get away from. No matter how we try. And I know you're not supposed to end a sentence with a preposition, but I couldn't think of another way to end it, so there. But for us, because we have a category in Delta called Delta Deers, and that is for those of them who have reached the age of 62. I'm not there yet. I'm aspiring to be a Delta Deer. But one of the things we were always taught from the very beginning, that you always respected those in the sorority who had been there. Always there was a recognition program. There was always something to recognize the longevity of service. And one of the things that was always emphasized and still emphasized is people who have been financially active since their initiation. I have been financially active for 42 years. There has never been a time when I did not pay my national or local dues. And so as we have learned that, and as I always try to instill that in people. Just because I am the age that I am does not mean that I can't learn something from you. Mm-hmm. Everybody can learn something from someone. And so I tried to embrace our undergrads, got tired of us calling them undergrads, and they wanted to be called collegiates. So we call our matriculating sorors collegiates. They told us one time at a convention that they wanted to be treated like everybody else, that they were sorors, they wanted to pay the same dues that we paid, they wanted to do whatever. And so we said, okay, if that's what you want, that's what you do. Now, mind you, about 20 years later, somebody complained. And since I had been there from the beginning, I went back and said, now, wait a minute, sister. This is what you said you wanted. You wanted to be treated equally. You wanted to pay the same dues that we paid. You wanted, all the rights and privileges, and now you have them. And once you get them, we are not taking them back. So always trying to be sure to utilize every generation. I can remember one time we had a statewide Founders Day, and I insisted that collegiates perform the ceremony that we normally do. And I made them come to a rehearsal. They were so angry. We can read. I don't know why she got us coming to this rehearsal. I said, baby, it's one thing when you sit in your room reading your ritual and it's just your two eyes. But it's a completely different thing when you're in a gathering of 400 or 500 sorors with two eyes and sometimes 4 eyes, and they got the same book that you're reading from. And if you make a mistake, they know you made a mistake. If you don't, light something the right way, they know that you're not doing it the right way. So yes, we are going to go through this. We're going to practice. And so there's one jewel that has a lot of words, and then you got to really slow down and pronounce the words, or you mess them up. When they got through that day, they got compliments from everybody. And they came back into the dressing room and said, thank you, Soror Boyd, for making us practice, because we certainly would have made a mess of it if you had not said, well, I'm a teacher by trade, and I understand your reluctance, but I also know that you're not going to embarrass me out there on the floor, because the first thing they would have said is, why she let them come out there? She knew they. So no, we're gonna practice, and so I always try to involve everybody as much as you can. Now, if you don't do the job, that doesn't mean you're gonna keep the job. If you mess up, and you only have to mess up one time. If you mess up one time, I would say thank you for your service and move on to the next person. So that's kind of the way we handle it. Now we don't have official capacities. We have Delta Dias, as I said, that are official, but we unofficially have Delta Dolls and Delta Divas. And of course, the dolls are the younger ones, and the divas are the ones between the dolls and the deers. So just trying to be sure that everybody has her say. Everybody has something to offer, and just making sure that everybody has her say. You may not want to hear it, you may not believe it, but give them an opportunity to have their say. And once you do it, they're gonna be happy. You may not use a single solitary idea that anybody gives you, but if you listen to them and they think that you're listening to them, and they see you write something down, they realize that you are trying to be fair.
Soror Boyd, according to Allison Frazier and Dr. Joanna Abram, you are such a true educator, and you are still making them practice. I'm just reading the comments, the comments. I don't know you like that yet, but I'm glad you informed me that I can now, when I end my sentences with the preposition, I can always go back and say, well, I didn't know what else to say, so I know better, but I just had to do it at that moment. So thank you. Like I told you, I'm leaving here today a well-informed Black woman who happens to be a member of a Greek sorority. So that's how I'm looking at this today. I'm going to take a little bit from everything that you're giving me. So thank you for that. Judge Petway, your turn. I need to lead these multi-generational women.
Well, we owe our career in Alpha Kappa Alpha to who we call seasoned sorors. When I was in our chapter in Selma, Zeta 8 Omega chapter, there were some women who had been in that chapter. We had a charter member, Mrs. Sarah Carter Craig. We had a soror, Pearl Todd, who had lived in Selma, had gone to Michigan and different places, and Mrs. Willa Fountain, who were all probably in their early 60s when I came into the chapter in 1985. And those women put their arms around me and believed that I had leadership potential and made sure I had opportunities to do things. The late Ruby Martin was our basilisk when we were initiated. And she also was able to identify something. And I'm still wondering, did they really see something, or were they trying to make me who they thought I could be? But because of them and their input and in my life, I think it gave me an understanding that you have to value those who have been around and those who know. And those people can influence the younger generation. Because we will always use those older members for workshop directors. They would help us formulate our workshops and also help us just make sure that other people were included, because it's easy to dismiss people. We had a practice called Midnight with the Regional Director. And on Friday nights at our regional conference, we would meet with our undergraduates at midnight in the room or in the suite, wherever we were. And it was just the regional director and undergraduates. And that gave them an opportunity to tell the regional director directly, eye to eye, what their thoughts were, what they thought we had done correctly, and what they thought we had done incorrectly. And it was an interesting time for us because they were empowered to look their director in the eyes and tell her what they believe. And we did it each year we were RD, because every year one would come back and say, well, nobody's ever listened to us like that before. And we feel as though we belong in Alpha Kappa Alpha. And it's just important, as our other panelists have said, to make sure everyone believes that they are a part and they're important. And that's something that probably being a judge was one reason I made sure we did that, because once a young man had committed murder and was in our court, and he had unfortunately killed a mother's only child. And we talked with him and he talked with us. And I told him, I said, well, you understand you gotta go to prison because you've taken this woman's only child. And we went back and forth. He would ask questions, I would answer, I would ask him questions. And at the end, when I sentenced him, he said, thank you, because he had had an opportunity to be heard. His questions had been answered, and he understood what was happening and why it was happening. And giving people an opportunity to be heard, I think, is the most valuable thing we can give any member in our organizations, because when you put money on the table and sacrifice to pay your dues, you want someone to acknowledge your importance and your contributions. So it was just good for me to talk with our undergraduates and our graduates. And even now, normally during each week, I mail at least 5 or 6 cards to people that I knew as regional director who were supportive and some who were not supportive, because they keep me grounded and make sure I understand from whence my opportunities came.
Well, you know, as I listen to my colleagues here, we in Zeta recognize those 50 plus Zetas. We call them doves. And that was under Grand Cheryl Underwood's administration that they received their label as Zeta Doves for 50 years of membership. I too, either at the state level or maybe it was the regional level, held this midnight thing. But you all know I taught college all my life. And so I was with the collegiate group all the time, every day in the classroom. But I also get up early. So my brain shuts down by 9 o'clock. And when it's beyond 9 o'clock, you know, I'm working on fumes. If I'm up, I'm on fumes. And I tried real hard. But really, by 9 o'clock at the regional, I need to go to bed. And I need to let everybody else take care of the night owls. And I would empower the other people, the state directors or somebody, to do that, because I would meet them in the morning, but they didn't want to get up in the morning. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, 7, 8 o'clock is my time. I'm good to go. My brain is on it. But 9 at night, 11 o'clock, midnight, I need to go to bed. So I always provided that they could have something. But honestly, y'all, I couldn't do and I know the undergrads don't even start functioning until 9 at night. And that just, I tried so hard. But y'all, you know, I'm a 5 a.m. person. I'm trying to retrain my brain now that I am no longer having to get up. I am retraining my brain that it's all right for me to sleep till 7 o'clock. You know, it's okay. and I'm forcing myself to stay up till 11. I'd be so happy I can see the 10 o'clock news. And, but by 9 o'clock, my brain was shutting down. And so I tried, when I would go to the state meetings and I didn't have the pressure of trying to operate the meetings, then could go visit our amici, our friends who are not college graduates, but are part of our family. I'd go into their meetings and play with them and laugh and talk and because when it came to the regional conference, that was my conference. I had to be on point. And so, but at the state meeting, I was the guest and I could go play with them and do all that stuff. And I would tell them, now y'all know I'm doing this now, because when at the regional conference, when you say something to me, I'm gonna look at you like, cause I'm gonna be like, don't let it out your mouth, but I'm gonna look at you crazy, so understand that when my anxiety go up, I shift into left brain mode, because I'm all about getting the task done. And that right brain that want to love on you and understand, it ain't there, and I try to stay mid-brain so that I can be sensitive to your needs and love on you. But if I'm in left brain mode, look out. You had that baby. Okay, all right, but who gonna take care of what you're supposed to do? And then my right brain will say, "Oh, girl, how long were you in labor?" I get into my nurse loving mode. "Oh, was it a boy, girl? How long was it? What did it weigh? What you name it?" So y'all just have to understand me. I try to stay in midbrain so that I don't offend anybody. But at midnight, I try to make provisions for the midnight gathering for the undergrad. But I'm in the bed.
I didn't do midnight, but I did meet with the collegiates as well, probably about dinner time. And at dinner time, if you have them, they're not gonna stay long because
they want to
go eat.
That's right. That's a smart move. But Cynthia, it wasn't in this group, but I had been a regional director in my nursing organization in Chi-Eta Phi before I became a Zeta. And I had been a second vice president, national second vice president. So I had learned a few things for survival from there that I brought with me over here. But even when I was in the suite and Denisha reminds me all the time about when, was it Johnny Gill? That my man, he came into North Carolina and he wanted my suite. Now it was at the end of my conference and they called up to the room and they wanted my suite. Now it was at the end of I'm tired. And I told him, I said, now if you come up here and say my to me, I'll move out in the hall. Well, needless to say, he didn't come and I didn't move.
Let's see.
I see, but it rose up in me. I just had to share it. But the intergenerational membership is so very important. If we become so elite with our membership and we don't bring in new blood, young and old, we will die. So we have chapters, all of us have chapters that have not opened up the door for membership. And they just, when those faithful ones get tired and sit down, then you lose that chapter. And so, we have to empower, but educate and strengthen our young folks to understand why the rules are the way they are. We grew up in, you don't ask why. I know all of us grew up that way. You do it because I say so. Well, this generation, they want to hear a reason. Okay, so we got to give them a reason. I got to swallow. Okay, let me explain why we are going to do it this way. And then can you help me? Can you help me get to that point? So I just have to process that. I'm sorry, I got on the tangent.
Okay, it's okay. I was about to wrap you up. Judge Petway, I want to combine these next two questions because I think they work together. What do you wish someone had told you prior to entering the office of regional director? And what advice would you give to leaders today overall?
Let's see. Now, when we served, we had what we call cluster meetings, and we had 8 cluster meetings each year during the fall. The regional director who came after us, he lowered it down from 8 to 1 per state, which left it down to 3. But those 8 meetings gave regional directors a time to become knowledgeable about who the members were and what kind of gifts they had, what kind of skills they had. So one thing I would encourage people to do is just to know who your members are. Know who your members are and know who you are. Know what your limits are. And it's sometimes challenging and I guess difficult for some people to realize what their limitations are. But we have to be honest with ourselves about who we are and what we can do. And, you know, I've been told by people that, you know, you just come off so strong. And I don't know if it's because you're a judge or whatever. And I said, you know, I've been Joe Celeste for almost 70 years. And I know I'm not perfect, but this is how we roll. So, you know, you have to know who you are and know what your abilities are and believe in yourself. Because so many times people assume leadership positions for which they're not ready for. I think everyone believes she's a leader, but all of us are not. And it hurts my very essence when you're sitting in a meeting and the leader doesn't know how to carry emotion. Or you're sitting in a meeting and there's just constant rambling, but no direction because there's no motion on the floor. And until we expect more from our leaders, we're going to continue to have organizations that really don't serve our people. It frustrates me because it seems like now we're at a point where it's about me, mine, and mine. And we've forgotten that we're here to serve other people. And until we get back to that, our organizations are going to continue to be almost irrelevant to the everyday person that we're supposed to serve. But for someone who wants to serve, my advice would be to educate yourself, learn parliamentary procedure, genuinely want to be ready to make the sacrifices, because as a leader, you're going to miss birthday parties if you have a child. Sometimes you're going to miss graduations. You're going to make tremendous sacrifices, and ask yourself whether or not the sacrifices are worth it, because sometimes they're not. The most important person in my life now is my 27-year-old son. And we would carry him with us when we went to plan regional conferences. And he learned the national hymn. And on the way home, we would sing Alpha Kappa Alpha's national hymn. I said, now you can't sing it outside the car, but we can sing it together. Because he understood what was important to me. And I had the opportunity to spend time with him. And the sorors were so nice. They would say, well, Joe Celeste, if you bring Adam, we'll take care of him. And I did it a lot. And they still ask, how's Adam doing? What is Adam doing? So you have to be ready for the commitment and understand whether or not you can handle the task. Because everybody looks good sitting on a dais. But you never know what goes on to get to that dais. And it's midnight. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's traveling, because I was thinking, I used to drive every place I went. And I've driven from Knoxville, Tennessee to Natchez, Mississippi, from Dothan to Memphis, and all the little places between. And it gave me an opportunity to see where the sorors live and how they were living as far as the conditions in their communities. And that's something people don't get when they fly everywhere. So, you know, just ask yourself and honestly, am I ready? Have I done the work to lead? Because sometimes when you haven't done the work, it shows. And we don't need leaders who are not really ready to lead.
Joe Celeste, when I tell people the good thing about being on the dais is you know where your seat is. And you know you're gonna be amongst the first to be served. You know what you're gonna eat. But like you said, the background work that you had, you smiling because you have done everything you know you can do to get to that dais. And after then, it's gravy. It's the program is operate itself. Once you say hello, it's gonna operate itself.
So true. So
And Judge
true.
Petway, you actually incorporated the last question, which was about the time commitment. And thank you for elaborating on that, because I think a lot of times people take on roles and responsibilities, not recognizing the time that it's going to take away from family, from events, from being a part of things that you would normally be able to do. I had to miss the first birthday party of a grandson one time, and I remember how it made me feel. So I can only imagine the challenges that all of you have faced in having those positions, and even still in a lot of the things that you're doing now. Ms. Boyd, tell us a little bit more about, you know, what kind of advice you give for today's leaders and what you wish someone had told you prior to taking your position.
Well, I had, and I can't say that I knew everything, but I had been a chapter president, a chapter advisor, and a state coordinator for 5 years before I became regional director. So I had some idea of the kinds of things that were going to be necessary, but you never really know until you actually sit, till you take your hand down from promising to uphold the Constitution. You never really know what it's going to be like until you're sitting there. I will never forget the first day. I don't know how this child got my number. She called me and she said, "Sorry, boy, congratulations on being elected regional director. I know you're going to do a fantastic job." She said, "But I need your help right now." I had been a regional director for all of 24 hours, you know, and I, you know, but you gotta prepare yourself. You cannot wake up one morning and say, "I want to be this," or "I want to be that." You've got to prepare yourself. You got to use resources that you have, person resources, material resources, you know, go to me. I never wanted to be a chapter advisor. I was just curious. That's the best way to say it. I was curious. I wanted to know what chapter advisors knew that I didn't know. So I started going to advisor workshop just to get the information. And before I knew it, when the local chapter needed an advisor, I was one of the only other 2 people who was certified to be an advisor. That's how I became an advisor. The same thing with state coordinator. I didn't want to be a state coordinator. We used to have paper chapter mailings. And as chapter president, I enjoyed getting the chapter mailing. And that stopped when I was not this chapter president anymore. I just wanted to get the chapter mailing. So I told my friend, "How can you get me the chapter mailing?" I got the chapter mailing when I became the state coordinator. So, you know, but I was prepared. I think you have to be prepared. You have to know, as Joseph said, you have to know what your strengths are. You have to know what your weaknesses are. And even though you are the head honcho, you cannot do it all by yourself. You have got to have a team. You got to surround yourself with people who are strong where your weak points are, so that you don't come off looking like an idiot. I agree with you, Joseph. I could shake your hand. I could hug you. We could not be virtual. To have somebody ask a question and the person say, "Let me get back to you." How many times can you say, "Let me get back to you," before they stop asking you? And they start doing whatever they want to do because you don't know. She's not knowledgeable. But it is a big time commitment. We had approximately 20 meetings a year, besides other things that the regional director was expected to attend. And so you have to know what you're getting yourself into. The other thing, and I'll stop, you cannot abdicate your authority. You cannot dish it out to someone else, because if you do, at some point, you're going to need to take it back. Just like a child who is accustomed to raising himself or herself, they're reluctant to stop that when you have to take over. So you have to always maintain your level of authority. You can ask people to do certain things, appoint people to do certain things, but have them to know the buck is going to start with me. I had to, if she could be listening now, she would be very upset. But my regional representative, who called me one day and told me she was very upset with me because I had not consulted with her on a matter involving something in the region. And I had my brain on that day. I said, "Baby, let me ask you this." I said, "Has anybody from national headquarters ever called you and asked you to resolve an issue?" She said, "No." I said, "And I know all those forms that we have that we send to national headquarters, whose name, whose signature do they ask for?" She said, "The regional director." I said, "And that's me?" She said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "So I'm not going to ever say that I will call you every time. I may be able to work it out. But if I can't, sometimes the decision has to be made on the spot. And I'm going to make the decision on the spot. And if I can, I will. But don't look for that to happen." Okay. And then, as it turned out, I had to suspend her chapter. I called her that afternoon. I said, "Baby, when we hang up from this call, by the end of the day, you better be a member of another chapter, Because if the national president signs this suspension and you are still a member of that chapter, you will no longer be the regional representative. She said, yes, ma'am, I'm going right now. I said, you got 2 chapters to join. Go join one of them, call the presidents and tell them you want to join, whichever one you want to join. But you better be a member of some other chapter than the chapter you are a member of at this point. She said, okay, thank you so much. I said, yeah, you know, I'm the big bad wolf, but here I am.
Trying to help you.
Be prepared.
I'll go ahead on and jump in
Know
with
your
my 2
resources.
cents. You know, Cynthia, you just got to, I mean, the buck does stop with you as regional director.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
so you got to know that when you accept this job, I just want to tell you, it's a 24/7
Yes.
job. Okay. And you know you're not getting paid, right?
Right.
You got to use a lot of your money
Mhm.
to make things happen. It's not reimbursable. Yes, you got a budget line item, but it nowhere covers what you need. All right. And so you have to be prepared, and you have to prepare yourself for that journey. So in Zeta, we have what we call Zeta organizational leadership now. And so that structure is there to empower and prepare our sisterhood to assume leadership. And so you have to prepare yourself to step into the role. And the best thing I can say is, you know, you make the best decision that you can at the time, and keep the organization in mind when you make the decision, because that is for the greater good. That's why you're there. You're there for the greater good. And the greater good is your organization, who you represent, whatever color it is, you are representing that organization. So when you make that decision, when you raise your hand up and say, yeah, and yeah, you might look cute up on the stage. Denisha always says, but they don't know the back and behind the curtain. Before you get on the stage, you don't know all the work it takes to get on the stage. And when people would want to question me about something, and if you're presiding, you know, you can't have comments. You are presiding. And so they wanted to know something. And if they would just ask me the question, I could give them the answer. But because I'm presiding, I can't just blurt it out. You should ask the question so I can provide the answer. Now that's parliamentary procedure. So when you don't know that, it gets you, and you can't keep asking your phylacter or your parliamentarian what to do. You need to know it.
You got to know what you're talking about.
You got to know what you're talking about.
That's it.
All right, y'all, we already said at the beginning that this was something that we weren't going to be able to finish in time, and it was the beginning of a book. So y'all be scared, because if we put everything we know in a book, we'll be on Oprah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We promise to change the name to protect the innocent.
That's right. That's all I was gonna say, Judge Petway, this is where you tell everybody to change the names of the people to protect everybody involved. So we are so elated that you all have been so open and forthcoming with us. I think that all of us have been able to take something away from this, and we're gonna get ready for questions. However, Dr. Hendricks, you know you're gonna have to finish the FBI story because it has been requested.
The only thing I will say is that the sister was wrong in what she was doing. But when you get the call from the FBI, they already know the answer.
They know the answer.
That's right. That's right.
All I could do was swallow and say, yes, I am the regional director. And yes, that name is familiar to me. And the rest is history.
Okay, Constance, I used to tell people, now I already know the answer. I'm just gonna give you an opportunity.
The courtesy.
I'm not gonna let you lie to me, in my face. So just tell me the truth, not as you see it, but the truth as it is.
As it is. That's good. That's good.
That's
My dad used to say that to me all the time. Dr. Hendricks, of course, they wanted to know, with bringing on so many chapters during your tenure, how are you able to keep up with all of those chapters? And I guess that really would be a question for all of you, because you had so many chapters within your respective organizations. So Dr. Hendricks, we'll start with you.
There was training involved. When you bring on a new chapter, there is training for that new chapter. And then you always turn that chapter over to the hands of the next level, which would be the state, or if you have some sub levels in there. But the state director is ultimately then put in charge of ensuring that she continues the training. We call it, yeah, all of us call it embellishment. You know, sisterly embellishment is lifelong for all of us. We have to do some embellishment. That means learning, everyday, continuous, lifelong learning. And so you have to put that in place and hold people accountable. Hold the members of that chapter accountable to obtain what is provided for them. Hold the state director accountable, because the international president certainly gonna hold me accountable.
Exactly. Exactly. One of the things that people, for us, people who are chartering chapters, many times are people who are not active with, they didn't come from an active chapter. They came from inactivity, and they always thought that was a selling point for me to approve the chapter. And I thought, well, no, if none of y'all know anything, what good are you gonna be to the organization? So I made sure that they had the workshops, the prescribed workshops, and we had state coordinators, and the state coordinator had to monitor the workshops that they did. We always provided a list of people who could do the workshops. And then once they were finished, I felt like they had a fair handle on what they needed to do to be a successful chapter.
Basically, we followed the same policy. We would meet with them normally several times and go over what the procedures were. And they had to commit to performing different program activities and attending conferences so they would learn, because as with you, we have several folks who have not been a chapter for the last 15 years who all of a sudden want to be a chapter leader. And we have to make sure they know what they're supposed to do and they know what the procedures are, because the last thing you need is a chapter that's rogue, because that's a lawsuit and probably a criminal sentence behind it. We always had our leadership directory where we could contact the bachelors and membership chair, whatever, at a moment's notice. And we encouraged them to call us whenever they had an issue, just want to talk. So, hopefully being on the first name basis with them and knowing their family, and sometimes their mom's names and daddy's father's names, gave us a very personal relationship and helped us, we believe, to govern responsibly. But it's interesting, y'all forgot about the clothes, how much it costs to dress part.
Yes.
Have mercy, Lord.
They will talk about you. Y'all, she had that on at the last meeting. She got it on again. Well, baby, until you supplement my wardrobe, there's nothing that you can say about what I have on. As long as every body part is clothed appropriately, there's nothing you can say about what I have on.
Yeah, that's right about you, because there is no allotment for the clothes.
No, ma'am.
There is an expectation.
No, ma'am.
There is an expectation that you must look good.
Yes, ma'am. Like as my mother used to say, like you stepped out of the bandbox.
And I will say this, and that's a good selling point for all of us as women. We have this mindset that we can't rewear clothes because of what people think about what we're wearing. And I thank Tiffany Haddish for being the one who wore, remember that white dress she wore to all of the banquets, all of the award show? She said she paid $4,000 for that dress and she was gonna get her $4,000 worth. That's something we can take. That's something we as Black women can take, and stop worrying about what people think about what you have on. You clean, your clothes clean, you look good, you feel good. Just take a picture, and then that way we can all be good.
Okay.
Dr. Joanna Abram, she asked two very, very good questions, and I don't want to miss them. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She said, can someone address the power of our sororities working together in our community? And then the next part to that was, can we work together for voter registration and political awareness? What a great question.
Well, I want to acknowledge that we had a Selma Delta president on, and in their program last week, that was something she suggested. Mrs. I know, unmute yourself, Ms. Brooks Beasley. because you suggested the same thing for those of us in the Selma area. And as Dr. Abram has suggested, that we work together.
Absolutely.
We have to work together. That was our ultimate goal with this program, is to show you that even though our colors are different, our foci, if you look closely, all
Same
our
thing.
organizations do the same thing. And if we had just worked together, that synergistic energy will accomplish much, just like we did last year when we hosted all your national presidents in Selma for the bridge crossing. We worked together as the Divine Nine to make sure that we provided great hospitality for the Divine Nine, big shots, all of the presidents, including Links. All right, they were there. And I think they left Selma feeling good. And it's because we worked together. And so your Delta, Cynthia, your Delta colleague, the president of the Selma alumni chapter, has extended that olive branch. And I told her last week, I accepted. I received the olive branch and made a commitment to her on her program that Gamma Alpha Zeta will work with them.
Yeah, we just have to realize that the needs are many, and we can only spread ourselves so thin.
Thank you,
And
Lord.
if there are 3 of us or 4 organizations, and you are quadrupling the energy and the resources. And so we just have to work, you know, what is that? Team together, each accomplishes much. And work in that vein.
Yeah, and we have to get past trying to figure out who's going to get the glory.
Right.
Exactly.
Glory should not even enter into the conversation. It should be, how much progress can we make as a collaborative effort? And whether your name gets called or not, it shouldn't matter, because we have to understand that 300 years ago, all our ancestors were slaves. And God has blessed us.
They'd still be slaves.
So many people like that. So, you know, we have to put all that foolishness aside about which colors we wear and what we do and who our national presidents are, and understand that we literally have to have the mindset of our ancestors as they came out of Reconstruction, that we have to be the ones to help our people move forward, because we are the talented 10. And we have to put that mantle on proudly, not egotistically, but humbly, and help our people move forward, because our people are in trouble.
They are. And just listen, if it comes down to it, the 3 of us can get together. We can order whatever paraphernalia we're gonna wear. It's gonna all be the same paraphernalia, just gonna be blue and white, pink and green, and red and white. And so when we come out for our voter registration or our blood drive or whatever, we gonna all look alike, except they're just gonna be in a different color. And we're gonna get the job. We're gonna get the job done. Is getting the job done. It's not necessarily who does it. It's that one of us or all of us have got to do it together. Because if we don't, when they come, as I used to tell people when they would call me and say, "Sorry, boy, if I tell you something, will you tell?" Yes, when they come for pearls, they can come for yours. They're not coming for mine. I took too long and too hard to get mine.
I want to thank you.
So when we come together, when they come for the race,
the black and white, we could do the black and white and put our logos on the black and white. That's our common bond right there. Is to come under the umbrella of the D9 with black and white.
Exactly.
And because I believe Judge Petway suggested that today, but I said, "Oh no, we better stay in our colors for today. Let's not make that bold step today. We'll do that bold step next time.
Another time. When we're doing
right now, we need to stay in our colors, so you know we cultivate that launching pad for the future."
Exactly. But I agree, and that's something that we need to talk about within each locale. We need to definitely talk about how we can do, because as you say, according to W.E.B. Du Bois, we are the talented 10th, and people are looking to us to help make things better. Not to say that we are any better than they are. We just hopefully have been exposed to the knowledge in whatever path we have taken. So it's up to us. It's up to us.
Yeah. Okay, we have a comment here that we have different colors, same goal. We are stronger together. And then Dr. Abrams said, this was a great conversation. And Erica Lewis said, quotable when they come for pearls. So we can take that today. We have to be held accountable for our pearls, because when they come for pearls. And one of the things I'm going to say, I don't see any other questions coming out right now. So as I get ready to turn this back over to Dr. Denisha Hendricks, I'm going to say it has been my pleasure to serve as your moderator today. But one thing I will always tell you, not only are we talented, not only are we the people that they came to get to make their country great, we as Black women have what they need, mitochondrial DNA. They can't get it from anywhere else. So if nothing else, that should make us know how good we are together in everything that we do. It has been my pleasure. I wish that I could say hello to everybody individually, but collectively, I would say thank you. And to my soror who brought me to the great Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Miss Jacqueline Mills. She is on with us today, and I have to acknowledge her. And I just thank you all for allowing me to serve today.
Before
Thank
I go, I
you.
have got to say
Excellent
hello
job.
to Janice Maxwell. Janice Maxwell, your soror, and I
Yes.
worked together for years at Drake Middle School, and Janice is on. She's not showing her face, but I see her name. Hello,
Janice was
Janice
signed
Maxwell.
on early. And
She's still here. She's still there.
I became a Zeta in Tuskegee in the graduate chapter. So
Okay.
Alpha Psi Zeta is my birth chapter in Tuskegee. So I tap a lot of places, a lot of ways, and I am most grateful because whatever I am is because of our paths crossing, and especially these two sisters here.
Exactly. Thank you all so much for the invitation, Soros of Zeta Phi Beta. I have enjoyed it immensely. I hope I've said one or two things that have shown you that I do know a little something. As I had to tell my granddaughter, baby, I was not born this old. Hopefully I have said something, that has made a difference with some of you, all of you. Thank you.
Oh, ditto. Thank you so much, my sisters. Look forward to seeing y'all soon.
Yes.
God bless everyone.
Thank you all so very much. This has been an awesome program. We have had wonderful comments all throughout the program, little nuggets that we all can take as it relates to being a woman in leadership, and understanding what that means. And especially, I think the part that we don't talk about as much, we can have a whole another program about the commitment and the sacrifice and what that really means. Those things, and about being prepared for leadership on each level, and what that really, really means. And the other thing that our hope was that as coming together, that we see the issues and the good things are the same. It did not matter which past regional director was speaking. When one was speaking, the others were nodding their head in agreement about the challenges, about and even about the proudest moments, because they all had them, but there are many things that are the same. And again, we are stronger together. We are stronger together. Because we came together is how we were able to make a change in the outcome of elections.
Yes.
And moving forward with all of the changes that people are trying to make all across the country to make it a little harder to vote the next time, we're going to have to be even stronger to be sure that we can come together. Know what, not a local election, a county election, we're going to have to make sure that we show up every time, not just when it's time to elect a president, but every time, because the local elections are sometimes even more important.
More important.
We have to make sure, and the only way we can do that is to get that word out and not allow anyone to sit an election out. So we thank you. We are, again, this is Finer Womanhood season for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, and our chapter, Dallas County Zetas. We are, of course, we're having a fundraiser to support scholarship and service. So we have placed in the chat a link to our fundraiser. So if you love good popcorn, please choose to spend a little of your popcorn investment. And it is an investment in the community of the Dallas County area for our ZHO programs, which is our service arm, as well as our scholarship initiative. So please choose to spend spend a little funds. And if you don't like popcorn, there is a way that you can donate $20 and the company will send snacks to our first responders. So please be sure that you choose to support us. We have to do this again and in this way. So we have to have a part 2, our sisters. So we don't have to do a part 2, and that'll be look, you all covered, let's see, chapters at least 1 through maybe 7, you know, in this one. And then maybe you can do 8 through, you know, 14 or something, you know, in the next one. So we have to make sure, well, maybe we just have to go to 20. So you got, maybe I go 1 to 10, and you got to go at least to 20 since we were 19, 20. So we can't just have 8, we can't just have 13.
That's right.
You got to
That's
go
right.
to 20. So that means you got to keep going. So
Get that numerology in there.
That's it. And then we'll connect. There's a past regional syntactics for Sigma Gamma Rho in Alabama. We just have to find her, but there is one I know in Alabama. We work together in MPHC. So we just need to find her and tap her, and then we have to go to 22. So that's okay. And that is okay. So we are truly, truly excited. And thank everyone for staying on with us. And I will also go ahead and invite you back next month, because this is a White Rose Lyceum series. So next month, we will be featuring our very own Soror, who is our moderator today, Soror Letitia Henley, and we will have, she will provide us her comedic talents. So if you want to have just a little relaxation time, I'm already looking forward to her singing Stay in Your Lane. You know, that's a leadership story song. She has a song called Stay in Your Lane. So I'm looking forward to hearing that song. And I have already requested it for the leadership conference for Zeta this summer. They don't know that, but I did. I told her she got to come on there and sing Stay in Your Lane for Zoe. So, because folk need to understand that too. So we are truly excited. And sorry, Henley, I saw your hand, and then we'll close out.
I know how hard people work, and I have to correct myself because I said Miss Mills, but I'm sorry, Dr. Jacqueline Mills, who at 74, and she don't mind me telling it, got her doctorate degree, and I respect myself out of respect for her and my love for her. So I just wanted to fix that. Thank you all.
Dr. Mills, fix that name
Thank you.
this time on that zone. Give you your props.
Amen.
Thank you all for coming.
Again, thank you all so very much for coming. We appreciate you. We love you. We must do this again. Again, stay tuned for next month, where we'll feature our very own Soror Henley, and we'll have some comic relief and some sister time. And then everybody can wear, you know, just paraphernalia. We're just going to be comfortable, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to have fun together as sisters. And we all, again, will be invited. So thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. To my Zeta sisters, continue to enjoy this finer womanhood season. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Make sure you drink plenty of water and wash your hands and stay socially distant, because it's not over. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you
All
all.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.